And today we're talking about uniforms or no uniform. Welcome to Table Talk, a podcast for massage therapists. I'm Denise.
And I'm Jeremy.
And today we're talking about uniforms or no uniforms. So this question comes up a lot during social media talk or business owners talking back and forth. So should small businesses have uniforms? Should large businesses have uniforms? Should only certain businesses have uniforms? And in our industry as massage therapists, we have to really think about that as a whole. You know, is uniforms appropriate for your business or not appropriate for your business? And there are a lot of pros and cons for that. And that's basically what we're going to talk about, the pros and cons today of having a uniform for your business. And when you decide to go about doing that, how should you do it? When should you do it? What kind of uniform should you implement into your business and with your team members? What color should your uniforms be? And who should make that decision? So let's start by talking about some of the pros of having uniforms. You know, in the beginning when we had our business, we didn't really have a strict uniform, did we?
No, I mean, we pretty much left the team members decide on what they wanted to wear. The only thing that we were a little bit more picky about was it had to be black. We wanted everything to be black, so we had a little bit more consistency, and people weren't coming in with white or colored shirts, and but we preferred everybody had a black attire in some shape or form.
And I guess the reason for that was so if someone came in with stains on their clothes or, you know, a white t-shirt or, you know, a bright purple or pink t-shirt, it didn't really, you know, didn't feel appealing to the clients maybe, or maybe it was something that had a logo on it or something offensive. Now, when we started out years and years ago owning our own spa, when we said black only, we wound up having some issues with that too, I believe.
Yeah, we had some therapists come in with colored like capris, not necessarily the whole capri colored, but like the band at the top of the capri might have had a color in it. So you know, instead of being a solid black, the upper elastic area had some kind of color that you could see through the bottom or at the bottom of her shirt where it met the pants and the shirt. So we did have that. I think we also had
some people wear shorter shirts.
Yeah, shorter shirts.
You know, as they're reaching, you can really see, you know, the back of their pants or undergarments sticking out or their stomach.
Yeah, I mean, and there got into a consistency thing too. You know, they were, some of them were dressing a little bit more, I don't want to say provocatively, but that would be the easiest way to say it, I guess, you know, that they had shorter shirts on than some of the other therapists and maybe a little bit more form-fitting compared to some of the other therapists, but they're in the same aspect too. If it's too baggy when they're bending over, granted now the therapist or the client typically is on the table, but there you can see cleavage and stuff like that too. So you know, you want something that's form-fitting, but something that's not skin tight either.
Right.
So
now, not having a uniform in the beginning, we had some team members come in with, you know, black sweatpants on that had the word pink across them, and you know, can people be offended by that or don't understand what that word means or, you know, what that, you know, pertains to? It could have. So, you know, moving forward with our business, we decided that we were going to supply the tops and they could still supply the bottoms, but we had more regulations for it. If you don't do that, then, you know, you can come up with people that decide to really want to be themselves, which is absolutely wonderful and absolutely great. But when you're working in a professional environment and you are the one running the business, you are setting some kind of standards for the name of your business. So having a uniform, some of the pros for that is not only are you protecting your team members' clothing, that they have their personal clothing, you're also helping them not, have to go out and buy a ton of different clothing. Having a uniform, maybe it's something that you provide for them.
I think in the same aspect, I enjoyed it. I know when we had a uniform in place, I enjoyed it because I knew when I got up in the morning that this is what I put on. Because I was going to work and I didn't have to go, okay, today I want to wear this outfit or I want to look at this. And, I knew that whatever my work schedule was, that if I was working that day, that I slapped on this shirt and this was what I was wearing for the day, and I think it just made it easier. I didn't have to, it took my thought process out of it in the morning. Like you said, I don't have that independence thing, but also I think it also helped with the consistency thing, helping everyone look more consistent across the board.
Yeah, it makes the team members look recognizable, not just to the other team members, but also to clients coming in. It creates, an attractive business image for the business that you're trying to conduct and represent. It also gives your clients a great first impression of neatness and consistency for the business. So, having them can definitely, do that in the structure of helping your business gain, some standards for how they're being recognized through the community as well. A uniform can also protect, like I said, the clothing, your team members' clothing, their personal clothing, from stains and oils and lotions and products, but it also can protect their family. If you really give it some thought, doctors and nurses, should they wear uniforms, right? They wear a scrub.
Yeah, usually a scrub or a lab coat or something like that.
And with that being said, some of them or a lot of them these days are changing at work before they come home and bring anything home to the family. So if you do have clients or you're picking up anything from your business or from your clients, if you decide to have uniforms at your business, one of the things we implemented right before, or should I say down the road after we gave it some thought, we implemented that our uniforms stay at the business and that our team members come in and change when they get there and then change back into their personal street clothing, if you want to call it, before they leave. Could they shower if they want? Yeah, sure, there were showers there. Did they have to? No. Some places don't have that option, but we did it a little bit differently where we laundered their clothes for them so that they didn't have to take it home and take it back to their family as well. Again, doctors and nurses do that sometimes so that it keeps any of those germs or anything out of their home, out of their personal life, and we can just take care of that. So that's another pro for it, keeping your team member healthy and safe and their families as well.
I think also too, like you said, with cleanliness too, for a fact that your uniforms are staying clean. You're laundering them. They wore them for one day. Not that I see anything wrong with, a lot of people will wear a pair of pants maybe 1 or 2 days in a row before they wash them. But, your shirts, if you're wearing a top and you're not washing that every day, at least with our business and the uniform in place, we knew that was being laundered every single time after they wore it. It kept it a little bit more clean and neat. I know there are cases sometimes that, the therapist might go home and like, I wore that shirt yesterday for 4 hours. I didn't have a long day. I'm going to throw it back on. It just gets into a better general hygiene, I think. Also with, like you said, the oils and some things like that. If you're laundering them at your facility, we were constantly doing wash. It prevented from oil and stains and some of those things setting in, where if you throw a shirt in your laundry hamper for 3-4 days before you wash it, that oil has more of a chance of soaking into the fibers and maybe having a tougher time getting that stain or that soiling out of that specific shirt or shorts or pants, whatever it may be. So I think it just kept everything a little bit more cleanly and neat and more uniform.
Yeah, and again, it does look more professional when you have people coming in and out. It looks more professional as a team in general. It creates a greater equality in the workplace. You know, you don't have, people, wearing all different things and saying how, this looks better on this person, this looks better on that person. You don't have people, like Jeremy had said, wearing inappropriate clothing, either their cleavage hanging out or, the pants or shirt being too small or too large, too baggy. When you get into some of the cons of, the uniforms, that can be part of it. One size doesn't fit all. So that's why you have to look at both sides of this. One uniform can look great on one person, but not look great on another person. And you kind of have to go through and, and we did this. We bought tons of different uniforms and different patterns, or I shouldn't say patterns, and different styles and the way they fit people differently. And we had our team that we had currently had at the time when we implemented full uniforms, top and bottoms, that we supplied. We had them each try them on so that we could really see how they were fitting to their body, because everyone doesn't have the same shape body, so they're gonna fit people a little bit differently. But you want something that is a good quality, that is durable, so it's going to go through the wash almost every day or every day. And something that looks good and feels good when you're using it. You don't want something that will have restrictions on modality that a therapist is doing, because with all different modalities out there, if you're stretching a client and you're moving your arm a certain way and the uniform is restricting that way, it's going to be hard for you to do and uncomfortable. So a great way to go about getting uniforms is, make sure you're talking to the company that you're working with, and that if you do purchase uniforms from them, what is the return policy? Because you want to be upfront with them and let them know that you want your team members to all try the different shirts and bottoms on to make sure they, have something that fits them very well.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely want to make sure that it's fitting, because we have different size clients just like we do team members. So, we want to make sure that it's appealing for everyone. We don't want something that it's going to be extremely tight on this individual and looks like the other person's swimming in it. So we want to make sure that it's working for the entire team and not just for one individual. Also, like Denise said, I think with one of the pros too was just that it doesn't create any kind of, I think employee morale changes a little bit too, because you don't have individuals, just like anything, it gives a team member something to talk about another team member, like, oh, did you see what so-and-so was wearing today? Whereas if they're in a uniform, that question is totally out. They can't nitpick about somebody else's clothing, whether it be the style, maybe it looked a little grungy, maybe it was too tight on them, whatever it may be. Inappropriate. That whole aspect comes out of the workplace, which is kind of nice too, because and it just depends on the business too. Like she said from the beginning, was if you have a small 1 or 2 therapist team, it's gonna, and maybe it's a little different for you, where if you're working with a larger team of 15 to 20 employees and you want everyone to look consistent, then you're looking at a different animal too. So I think it depends on your team, and it depends on what you're striving for. What type of business are you trying to run?
And that's Good point. Because if you are looking to have a top-notch facility, you want everything lined up exactly right. You want everyone to be uniformed. You want it to be in a uniform way. And that's a good start to doing that, saying, hey, the front desk wears this, the massage team wears that, other people wear this. That way you have different uniforms for each section maybe of your business, but everyone is in a uniform. You can tell them apart. Your clients can tell your front desk team apart from your therapist, from the people that do, the billing or the office work. So you could definitely have different uniforms for different parts of your team or different areas. But when it comes to doing the uniforms and getting the uniforms, and who decides on that? That can be a hard situation. Does the manager decide on it? Does team members vote on it? Does the business owner come out and pick what design are we getting? What color? How expensive do we go? These are all decisions that you really need to think about prior to just jumping in and saying, hey, yes, we're going to uniforms. You need to have all your ducks in a row. What type of uniform are you looking for? Are you looking for something that is a plain t-shirt and, certain bottoms? Or are you looking to go to a uniform company and, really sit down and pick out uniforms that go with, the type of business or the kind of atmosphere you're looking for? I've been in a lot of different, massage businesses that, it goes from whatever they want to wear that day. It could be cut off shorts and a tank top to, a t-shirt and leggings to a very professional, wraparound type of uniform or type of scrub, and the scrub pants to it, and specific shoes as well. We're talking about uniforms. We should talk about, is there a certain shoe that you require them to wear? Is it sneakers? Is it flats? Can they have a wedge to it? Some states require you to use a closed-toe shoe, where other states really don't care. We talk about, the actual clothing and the shoes, but should we also talk about, can they wear jewelry? I've had, in the past, therapists that have big chunky earrings on, and it seems like it's getting in their way more than, it's making a fashion statement for, them that day, or a necklace that's dangling and could possibly, hit the client while they're on the table. Or we even had a therapist that had sunglasses that she wore on her head. That right there is a safety problem that, you're working on a client and you bend over to work on their leg, and your sunglasses that are on top of your head fall down and hit the client. So, when you're thinking about doing uniforms, you should also think about altogether, what are your requirements for your team members in the handbook? Can they wear certain jewelry? Can they, wear certain things in their hair?
And the big thing there too is you almost have to set it in place too, because you don't want to go at it every time you see someone, and then it turns into kind of like, well, why are you picking on me scenario? Oh, I can't wear this necklace, or and there's something like that. It might be better just to go across the board and say no for certain things, because if you decide, hey, they can wear necklaces, how do you determine what size? What about if somebody has a long necklace on and somebody has a smaller necklace on, and then you're kind of looking at that aspect too. So I mean, it just depends on what you want to get into, like how deep you want to dive into the uniform scenario. But I think, even with, like you said, with the shoes, that's a great point too, because I know we've had our scenarios that we had to evaluate shoes, because we'd have a black uniform, and a therapist would come in with hot pink shoes on or something like that, and most people in their head would go, well, that wouldn't match, or I wouldn't do that. But you have it sometimes, somebody for some reason thinks, oh, I love these pink shoes, I'm gonna wear them with my black uniform.
And that's awesome to be an individual. That's awesome to have, your own style. But in a workplace, you're right. You can't do that. It's really setting them apart in a different way too.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm totally about individualism and all that kind of stuff. But in the workplace, if you have a certain standard and a certain guideline, then you need to stick to it. And I think that's some of the reasons why some of these bigger companies, you see uniform policies in place because they want that consistency. You look at like Chick-fil-A, Walt Disney World, all those places, each individual might not wear the exact same thing, but they have some type of uniform that, hey, Disney, all the people cleaning up the streets wear this uniform, and all the people on this ride wear this uniform. So they're consistent in different areas, but it also separates them too. And I just think
who they are,
what
their job is, pretty much.
Yeah, what their job is, and I think overall, it gives, if you're in a larger field, it gives you more of that professionalism look. I think you look more professional than inconsistency, especially when you get into, if you have, like I said, that larger team. If you have 15, 20, 30 therapists, if you have 10 rooms and you have a therapist working each room that day, you have 10 different therapists in, if they all have different outfits on, as a client, you don't necessarily maybe know if that's a client or if that's a team member. So I think it helps in consistency and knowing what their job is at that facility, that moment, that day.
Absolutely. Now, as a business owner standpoint of it, you have to make a decision if you decide to get into uniforms. And this could be part of the cons, How many uniforms does each person get? How much does a uniform cost? Who pays for those uniforms? Are they part of what the business supplies, or does the business supply so many of them and then the employee or team member is in charge of supplying the rest or paying for the rest? So a lot of decisions have to be made when you're deciding to go towards the uniform. So are uniforms for your business? Are they not for your business? And when you're making that decision, you need to take the time. It is a big decision to make because it can definitely be costly, either for the business or for the employee, depending on who's paying for it. And after being in the industry for decades, I believe that there can be a great benefit to having your team wear a uniform. However, it isn't for everyone. It's not for every business. So that makes it really important to sit down, write down the pros and cons for yourself on how it can benefit your business, how it can set your business apart, or how, it can deter your team members from wanting to work for you if they have to be told what to wear. So that's some of the cons as well. They feel restricted to doing something specific if they don't like it or enjoy it. We found out that most of our team members loved it because they didn't have to think about what they were putting on. They didn't have to launder them. They came to work, put them on, did their jobs, took them off, and they left for the day, and we took care of that. But whatever your decision is, make sure it's the right decision for you, your team, and your business, because every business is different. And this is a personal decision. But thank you for tuning in today to Table Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you get the latest podcasts from us. And make sure that you share this with your fellow massage therapists.